Hello and welcome everybody, but probably nobody. This is ThorW and I'm here to bring you guys a tutorial on how to play Monk in the PvP scene, or at least how I tend to play Monk in the PvP scene, and some of the tips and tricks you might want for DFO. Now I am going to be doing post-commentary on all of these clips that I have recorded, because it will probably be a little bit easier for me to explain things in post-commentary than it will be to do it live. And in an effort to make sure that this tutorial is clear and easy to understand for you guys, I'm going to go ahead and put that extra work in. So, without any further ado, I want you guys to pull out your notepads, get some pencils and paper, put on your big thick Coke bottle glasses, because we're going to learn some stuff. We're going to be studying all night long about this. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and hit that practice button so that we can hit that practice arena and practice our Monk mechanics. I cannot say practice anymore without losing the meaning in the word. Practice, 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 practice. Let's start this tutorial with the Monk's basic X string. 3 straight punches, an uppercut, and a downward punch. This X string will carry your character forward by default. If you hold back, you'll stay in place. If you hold forward, you'll slide further with each hit. The 4th hit of this X string will knock your opponent out of the standing state and into the aerial state, changing the damage type that they're going to be gaining and the damage cap. It's important to note that the 5th hit keeps them in this state for juggles. Next, let's cover the Monk's dashing attack. It'll start with a downward lunging punch, which can be followed up with the second upper move. Second upper will have super armor if you do choose to follow up on that attack. The best place to do this is against a wall or in a corner, as it makes it very easy to hit your opponent with both the downward punch and the uppercut to keep them juggled. The most important skill for this, however, is learning how to do it in place. I suggest you practice this a lot. In order to do so, you want to dash forward, let go of the dash button, hit down or up to move vertically, and then use your dashing attack. This will keep you in place instead of lunging forward. This is important because when you want to juggle an opponent, if you lunge forward, you're probably going to miss the follow-up. So instead, you want to be able to dash in place and use the second upper in the same spot. Next, let's talk about the quintessential Monk skills, Duck and Sway. These are what make a Monk who he is, and you guys should definitely get used to using them. Now, their PvP forms are a bit nerfed from the PvE forms. With a whopping 1.3 second cooldown, you cannot spam these like you can in PvE. By default, they'll carry you 150 pixels over 0.5 seconds. These are your main mobility tools and help Monk get around the arena. These will cover distance across the X-axis mainly, but you can also hold up or down to cross the Y-axis. Very important to note, you can cancel these skills by pressing the jump button so you can end them early. Now, why would you want to do this and limit your mobility? Well, this allows you to cancel into other skills. As you can see here, I am swaying backwards, canceling into a back step, turning around and ducking. This covers about half of the arena distance in this particular arena on the X-axis, no problem. In addition, I'm able to cover some of the Y-axis. This is what gives Monk their high mobility and ability to catch opponents and put pressure on. Getting used to canceling these skills is highly important for PvP, and you guys should just play around with it and get used to it. In addition, canceling the skill allows you to use other skills that aren't the Duck or Sway follow-ups. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Monk's various approaches, starting off with the exquisite combo approach. One of the strongest points of this approach is the fact that it has some Y-axis hitting, so I can't hit with my normal X string, but if I exquisite combo, I'm able to hit my opponent. Very helpful. This is able to be done either above or below your opponent. This has a little bit more of a Y-axis reach from above your opponent, so that's generally the more offensive way to be able to use it. Exquisite combo has enough hit stun that you're able to get a good follow-up onto your opponent. The main follow-up you're going to try and get is some sort of ducking attack, whether it be ducking body blow, ducking straight punch, or something like that, and then hit off into some sort of standing combo on your opponent. For the next approach I want to talk about the chopping hammer approach. This is a very important approach as it's one of the very few skills Monk has with super armor on it. It's a brief flash, so you have to time it well, but it does exist. Now, chopping hammer as a base, it is a duck or sway move, so one of those skills will have to be off cooldown. When it hits your opponent, it will bounce them off the ground and put them into a juggled state, so it will take them out of their standing combo state and reset them into the juggle combo. And it is because it is usable with duck or sway, it allows you to move across the y-axis in order to get it, and it will always carry you forward on the x-axis towards wherever you're facing. Here's an example of me doing a sway cancel into a backstep, a turnaround, duck chopping hammer. Good mobility on the skill if you use duck and sway well. For this next approach, I'm going to teach you guys about what warp grabbing is. So what is it? Because there's latency between players, the game thinks that if you use a grab at the same time that you're hitting an opponent, your grab is hitting your opponent. This allows you to do very silly things, such as canceling something like Sidewinder into a grab from a long range, like so. This is a technique called warp grabbing, and what this does is this allows you for very long range initiations. After you grab, you can do something like a follow-up with machine gun jab. It's very useful. This also works across the y-axis with moves like Heavenly Combo. It is very important to get used to canceling with dry out into a warp grab, as this is one of Monk's safest forms of initiation into a juggle. Alright, so before I teach you guys about what combos Monk has, the standing combos, juggles, etc., let me first give you guys a quick little lesson on how to learn. This is actually a very, very important lesson. I would really implore you guys to pay attention here, because one of the biggest issues that I see a lot of people talking about in the fighting game community, and it carries over a lot into Dungeon Fighter Online because it's very similar to fighting games and takes a lot of its PvP roots in combat from fighting games. A lot of people put up the question, how do I learn how to do these combos? How do you guys figure it out? How do people figure this stuff out? Etc, etc. And that brings up the topic of how do I learn? That's basically what they're asking. So the way I'm going to approach this, the way I'm going to show you guys how this goes, is the way that I teach myself how to do these combos and how to put everything together. And that is by doing it piecemeal. I'm going to introduce one topic at a time, one little miniature combo, and then we can put them together piece by piece and form up a full combo. So for example, if I teach you like a very basic combo like X combos into Y, and then I'll teach you later that something like Y combos into Z. Then you learn X can combo into Y to combo to Z, and there you have a combo. So that's how I'm going to teach you guys, and I would suggest practicing these little bits just one piece at a time. Just one piece at a time. This will make things very simple. So if you set up a simple lesson plan for yourself, you can find out what kind of pieces you want to learn and how to combo, and figure out how easy it is to actually do it. Step 1, you want to set a goal for yourself, something nice and simple. If you're new to PvP, something like, I want to learn how to do a second upper without lunging forward. Very simple goal, but very important to learn for PvP. After that, you want to study how to do this properly, what buttons do you gotta press, what kind of timing is involved in it, and you want to practice this in the PvP practice arena a little bit. Get a little bit of hits on the dummy. You can even turn the dummy onto aggressive if you want a little bit of combat experience for it. Next, I would suggest getting actual experience out in PvP matches with this. Now, you're not necessarily going to be able to win these matches. After all, you're learning a new combo. Whenever someone's learning a new combo and they're trying to hit it, they have a little bit of difficulty. You're probably going to drop it a few times. Don't worry about that, guys. Everyone does. What matters is you don't have to win the match. You just have to hit your goal. Your goal is, I want to hit X. So you're going to do a few matches of PvP and you're going to try and hit X every time. You might play a little bit normal for the PvP match for a bit, but your main goal, in the back of your mind, I gotta hit X. After that, after a few attempts at that and a few matches, you'll get consistent at it. Let it start flowing naturally into your actual combos, such as after I hit an exquisite combo, I can hit my X in this example being my second uppercut, and launch them for a follow-up. Very simple. And then after that, repeat the process with a new combo. I want to learn how to Y. Something like that. This is a very good way to learn how to actually PvP and how to apply it into your repertoire before you go out and really get good. So without any further ado or any more distractions, I'm going to teach you guys these piecemeal combos that you can connect together to create bigger combos. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's cover the Monk's basic standing combo. This is performed through 3 X attacks followed by a sway or a duck cancel into 3 more X attacks. You have to alternate between using sway and duck because of the cooldown, but it's not too difficult. This is the Monk's bread and butter standing combo, and you're going to be using this technique quite a lot, so get used to it, guys. Up next for basic standing combo moves, Monk has the exquisite combo into a ducking move. Now, after exquisite combo hits, you have enough hit stun to sway or duck your way into any of the ducking or sway move follow-ups, whether it be a ducking body blow, a ducking straight punch, a ducking uppercut, or a chopping hammer. Now, this can also be used across the Y-axis, considering that exquisite combo has some Y-axis reach, and it allows for a very diverse set of moves for Monk to follow up with. Next, I'd like to talk about incorporating Lucky Straight Punch into our standing combo. Lucky Straight Punch does a lot of damage, and it's good to get it in. Now, one way that you can do it, and one way I'm showing, is a follow-up onto one of your ducking skills, whether it be ducking straight punch or ducking body blow. Remember, this is standing combo, don't want to knock them up yet. This is a pretty decent place to put it. There's little to no delay between a ducking straight punch or ducking body blow into a lucky straight punch, if you do it correctly. It works a little better after one of your 3 X strings. There's even less delay between those, and your opponent should remain hit stunned. And a couple things that you need to know about Lucky Straight Punch before we really get it in there is that if you are too close to your opponent, you will sail past them and fly forward, and you will only hit the first hit and not carry your opponent with you. However, if you use a hotkey, Lucky Straight Punch can be used while standing still. This is a good thing to remember when you're setting up your hotkeys. So now that you guys have seen the set pieces and how to form a standing combo through these little miniature combo pieces that I've shown you, let's take a look at what a full standing combo would look like, or at least something very close to it. We're going to start out with an exquisite combo approach because this is one of our approaches that keeps the opponent on the ground and leaves them hit stunned enough for us to follow up. Our follow-up is a ducking straight punch into our XXX bread and butter. XXX, sway cancel, XXX, ducking body blow, XXX, a lucky straight punch thrown in because it does a good amount of damage and we want to get that in, XXX into another ducking straight punch because it's off cooldown again, and that's one of the skills that I personally have leveled up, into XXXXX just for the knock-up into a juggle. Now, this is just about hitting the damage threshold on the ground combo. You can throw in a couple different moves if you want to. There's a lot of variance in what you can do with Monk. I'm going to show this off one more time so you guys can see it, this time at real speed. And this is a very simple combo you guys can practice if you want to try and incorporate something like this. And the ducking straight punch and ducking body blow are completely interchangeable in their position. Even lucky straight punch can be thrown into different timings in case you want to get one move off cooldown sooner than the other. So just play around with that. You guys can work with this. This is incorporating just about every skill you can into the standing combo, and pretty much all of your leveled up skills. Okay, so next thing I want to teach you guys is how to get yourselves into juggling and what kind of juggle combos and juggling moves you have available to you. Now, in my mind, there are 3 different states of juggling. There is the juggle setup, or the startup, which is the move that's going to launch them into the air for the first time, along with whatever minor follow-up you might have. I would still consider in the startup stages. The mid-juggle combo, and this is the moves that you're going to use to keep your opponent juggled and do damage to them whilst they are in the air, and to keep them up in the air, because while they're in the air, almost no classes have any real chance or ability to get out of the air and to fight back. So this is going to be your main place to deal that damage. And finally, the juggle ending moves. The combo enders. This is once you've dealt a lot of damage to your opponent and you're ready for them to come down because gravity's going to bring them to the ground anyway. How do you want to end that combo and put that little exclamation point on the end of it so that you deal the big damages, yo? So, let's go ahead and start off with our juggle startups. So let's start with the most basic juggle startup you have available to you, your X string, because the 4th and 5th hits of your X string do put your opponents into the juggle state. The 4th hit uppercuts them, keeping them in the air, and the 5th hit will bounce them off the ground. Even if your 4th hit misses, the 5th hit does put them in the air. This is a very basic, very simple way to put your opponent into the air for a juggle. For our next juggle startup, I want to talk about Chopping Hammer and Ducking Upper. Chopping Hammer is one of the approaches I mentioned earlier, one of the few moves that Monk has with some sort of super armor. So this is one of those moves that you're going to want to try and incorporate into your approaches. Now, this is showing off one of the follow-ups you can use after Chopping Hammer as the Ducking Upper. It's very simple, very elegant, and it puts them right into the juggle state, which is where you generally want your opponent. Our next juggle startup to talk about is Ducking Upper into Second Upper, and even vice versa. Now I'm showing off different angles and different ways that you can hit this, and the fact that it will affect how high your opponent goes on the screen based on the timing that you do it. If you do it a little slow, your opponent's going to go a little lower. If you mess up and you lunge forward, you may actually hit the second upper, but your opponent's going to kind of fall right on top of you, and you're not going to be in the best position for your follow-up. So it's very good to get in the practice of getting this down the proper way, which is to get them right in front of you to knock them up even further and make sure they lift off the screen. Our next juggle initiator is very simple. It makes use of the warp grab approach. After your smasher, you throw out a machine gun jab, as it will grab them and knock them up at the end of it with the upper punch machine gun jab has. Very simple, very good to incorporate into your skills in PvP. Alright, so the next juggle initiation is going to incorporate the use of Hurricane and Roll. If you're able to get that to hit fully and get the launch off the uppercut, you want to follow up with Chopping Hammer into a second upper. The Chopping Hammer is able to follow the launch path of the uppercut, and the second upper is going to launch your opponent further into the sky so that you can follow up with the mid-juggle combos, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Before we continue, I'd like to make special mention of why I don't think Hurricane and Roll is worth maxing. It is one of the most counterable level 45 skills in PvP. There are moves that opponents have that can counter you at the end of it. There's the fact that if your opponent grabs you, they can pull you out of the move completely and stop it entirely. And the fact that there aren't really that many good combos to work Hurricane and Roll into. Just pointing that out for you guys. Watch the Ranger counter it and feel bad. Feels bad, man. The next juggle startup skill I want to talk about is Sacred Counter. Sacred Counter is special in that it has two different forms. It has the procced form, where you will slide forward with super armor, which is only activated if you counter an attack that an enemy throws, and the unprocced form. If you reactivate Sacred Counter yourself by hitting the button, it will slide forward without the super armor. It's important to note that Sacred Counter does not work from behind, and you will eat shit if your opponent hits you from behind, so use it only when your opponent is attacking you from your front. The final juggle initiation I want to talk to you guys about is with the use of Heavenly Combo. It follows the same logic as the Hurricane and Roll. Sometimes you're going to hit Heavenly Combo and you're not going to be able to use Dry Out to cancel into Smasher or another move to follow up. This is going to hit the full combo. What do you do then? You follow with a Chopping Hammer, and then you follow that up with a second uppercut to put your opponent into that juggled state. You're going to have to... The timing window's a little tight right after the Heavenly Combo to get the Chopping Hammer off, but get used to this, guys. It's very good to be able to have this because Dry Out isn't always up. It's got a pretty long cooldown, so you need to know how to follow up on a full Heavenly Combo. So now that we know various ways to initiate our juggles and start up our juggles and put our opponents into the air, what are we going to do to follow up? What is our mid-juggle combo going to be? What kind of set pieces do we have for that? To start off with our mid-juggle combos, let's go over the bread and butter for Monk juggling. This is going to be after you have launched your opponent into the air. You want them relatively high on the screen, around the top-ish of the screen, something like that. You're going to follow up with XXXX. The fourth X is what you're looking for, that uppercut. As your opponent falls, you're looking to hit them with that fourth X. This will launch them back up a little bit. Then you use a sway or a duck counter. Or a cancel. Sway or a duck cancel, sorry. The reason you do this is this takes you out of your X string animation and puts you back to your standing animation. This allows you to do something else instead of the X string right away. Then you follow up with a standing second upper, and then you follow up with another XXXX string into a cancel. That is your basic bread and butter. This is going to be able to keep your opponent launched in the air, keep them exactly where you want them, right above you, and you use this anytime you don't have any more damaging moves to fill in for your juggle. It's a very difficult bread and butter combo to get off. It's one of the more technical juggles in the game, and it's one of the reasons why Monk is considered a bit of a technical class. You guys are going to want to practice this until you're able to carry the NPC punching bag from one side of the arena to the other, basically, or at least from half court to the end. It should become second nature to you guys. You're going to have to do this more than any other combo that I'm going to tell you about. This is going to be the most important one for you guys, because you have to put it in between any other juggle moves that you guys have. This next mid-juggle technique is very important to monks. Monks want to get off certain skills like heal when they're injured, strike to make sure they've got the buff. They want to have will driver under them when they're hitting their opponent, so they got the buff for that. And they want to be able to reliably get Shadow Clone off so that they get that explosive power-up to get that big damage in on their opponent. The best time to do this is actually mid-juggle. When you use second upper, it has enough launch strength to launch your opponent into the air, and you have time to get off these various skills. I'm going to show you a few examples of second upper into heal, second upper into strike, second upper into a will driver, and second upper into Shadow Clone. You're going to notice that in all of these, the follow-up is machine gun jab after they fall down. This is because machine gun jab keeps them at a good level and then launches them high enough that you can follow up with another launch and get them right back into the juggle. This is a very important technique to learn, as this allows you to get the explosive damage off, get your buffs off, and get everything in the proper position while you're comboing your opponent, so that you don't have to do the setup before you get your opponent into a combo. You're not always going to have them in your will driver when you initiate the combo, so this allows you to move those things where you need them to and take control of the situation immediately. Since it's not always guaranteed that we're going to have a move like machine gun jab off cooldown after we launch our opponent and get our Shadow Clone off, this is showing that you can use another move such as chopping hammer in order to bounce them and get them relaunched into the juggle state. It's good to know that you have this kind of diversity for yourself in the PvP scene, because your cooldowns won't always line up the way you might want them to. The next technique for a mid-juggle combo makes use of the Twister move. Now, it's no secret the Twister's not the best move in the world, but you do want to get it in there now and again, because it does a little bit of consistent DPS for you. The best part about the Twister move is the fact that when Monk uses Twister, he does an uppercut first. This will launch your opponent up a little bit. So any sort of bounce or any sort of launch, you can immediately follow up with the Twister move, and it'll launch your opponent higher and allow you to follow up. When you have Shadow Clone active during your juggle, more moves will keep your opponent in the air, since you have the Shadow Clones following your moves. For example, if you use Exquisite Combo, normally your opponent's going to drop to the ground, but because you have Shadow Clone following, your opponent is kept in relatively the same space, allowing you to use that mid-combo and then follow up with another launch to keep your opponent juggled. Remember that this is available to you when you have Shadow Clone active, and it'll rack up damage very quickly for you. So now that we've learned how to effectively initiate a juggle, and how to combo our opponent while keeping them juggled, it's time to punctuate the "you just got your ass kicked" statement with the various combo enders that we can give to our opponent at the end of a juggle. As you reach that 20% damage cap and gravity starts to set in, your opponent's going to fall to the ground faster and faster. Well, you don't want to end with just some flaccid regular attack. Here's a few of the skills and a few of the combos that you can end a juggle with to get a little bit of extra damage in before they hit the ground. The first combo ender is very simple. A ducking body blow into Smasher into a Divine Crush. Very simple. Your opponent falls onto the ducking body blow, you grab them into the Smasher right after that, and then once they've been thrown, you throw out a Divine Crush. The shockwave is very likely to hit them, or you can even cancel out of the throw into the Divine Crush, and it'll hit them before they're even released. Very simple, a good bit of extra damage to hit with your opponent with. The next combo that you can end on is Exquisite Combo into a Ducking Straight Punch. The beauty of this little set of moves is that it'll push your opponent away from you. This gives you a little bit of breathing room at the end of your combo if you want to reapply a buff to yourself. Just stay away from any kind of wake-up moves they've got, and it's relatively safe. Not quite as much damage, but very helpful to have that spacing. Last in the list of combo enders is my personal favorite way to end a combo, Exquisite Combo into a ducking move, into Smasher, into Divine Crush. This particular combo does a fairly high amount of damage to end off on, at least in the case of what Monk is capable of, and is overall pretty easy to execute. Do note that if you're going to use Ducking Straight Punch to execute this combo ender, then you will have to have your opponent against a wall, or you will send them flying. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for the moment you've all been waiting for, a full combo demonstration. That's right, using everything that we have learned up to this point, we're going to put it all together and do some big damage. To start ourselves off, we're going to run up and we're going to use an Exquisite Combo into a Ducking Straight Punch, one of our basic approaches. From that point, we're going to go into our standing combo bread and butter. Punch, 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 duck and sway cancel, punch, 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 all the while weaving in a lucky straight punch, a ducking body blow, and another ducking straight punch as it comes off cooldown. All the while, this has pushed our opponent into the wall at the corner so that it makes our juggling easier. From this point on, we go into our basic 5x string into a machine gun jab to narc our opponent into the juggle. We're going to follow up with our second uppercut to launch him high into the air, and activate our Shadow Clone so that we can get some good damage. We're going to use Chopping Hammer to bounce him off the ground, and go into another second upper. We'll go for the basic bread and butter juggle combo. Unfortunately, a miss kind of messes up the juggle itself, but because we have Shadow Clone, I improvise at this point, and I'm able to keep my opponent juggled using the basic X string and following up with a ducking uppercut after I have bounced him off the ground. This gets him right back into the air for another second upper and continues the juggle. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't the most beautiful, but it definitely works. We're going to hit our opponent again into the ground and end it off with one of our basic combo enders, my personal favorite, Exquisite Combo into the ducking body blow, into the Smasher with the Divine Crush at the end. Beautiful! I really like the way that this combo came out because it wasn't perfect. And your combos aren't always going to be perfect, guys. Sometimes a miss is going to happen. Sometimes you might time it just a little bit wrong and you might miss something. And this combo demonstrates the utility and the versatility of Monk and their ability to pick up the slack where you might have missed something. I missed a little bit of my combo, but because I had my Shadow Clone active, I was able to bring it back and still put down a very high amount of damage on my opponent. So there you have it, boys and girls. I've gone over everything from the tiniest little move that can help knock an opponent into a juggle to the full combos, combining everything that we've learned together. With all of this, you guys should be equipped to set up your own lesson plan, figure out what moves you want to learn in what order, and take the PvP world by storm. Remember, Monk's a very technical character. You're going to really have to get used to your approaches. There's not a lot of great matchups, there's plenty of bad matchups, but the big thing about Monk, it's a very fun class to play, it's very explosive and very entertaining. So hopefully you guys will like the playstyle, hopefully you guys will jump into PvP and really enjoy it. This game has a very enjoyable PvP scene in my opinion, and there's a lot of fun to be had with it. So I wish you all the best of luck out in the arena. I hope to see a couple of you guys out there, and I hope to get my butt kicked by a couple of you guys, and for you to say, "Thanks, Thor, you taught me how to kick your ass. Now I will become I will absorb your power, for there can be only one Highlander. Go out there and be the only one!"